Everything has gone pink, and the Barbie craze is in full drive. It is the highest grossing debut film of 2023 and has made over $337 million in its opening weekend alone. The production design of the film is out of this world, and it's being reported that the paint supplier actually ran out of supplies of pink paint worldwide while producing the film. But don't let the bright colors and the Barbie brand fool you. This is anything but a children's film. Spoiler alert, Barbie is not what you think it is. Now, while at first we thought we would be presenting a quick commentary on the meaning of beauty and a generic reminder to not chase after the artificial standards of plastic beauty that brands like Barbie have helped popularize, this is the least of our concerns. Far from being a children's film, this is a highly politicized film, filled with messaging that is inappropriate for children. Everything from crude sexual innuendos, a plot around an existential crisis, homosexual references, a transgender Barbie doll, and of course, aggressive feminist propaganda that goes on to define the entire premise of the film. From the very opening scene, young girls are shown playing with the traditional baby dolls, only to have them destroyed and replaced by a new Barbie doll that is a free, independent, and beautiful young woman. So long, aspirations for motherhood. The entire plot of the film surrounds Barbie's fight against the patriarchy and male-dominated society. It depicts Ken, along with every other man in Barbieland, who is also Ken, as ridiculous individuals who are obsessed with Barbies, yet Barbies want nothing to do with them. The film then goes on to follow Barbie and Ken's pursuit into the real world outside of Barbieland, where they are greeted by a society that is dominated by the, again, patriarchy, a world where men are perverts, police make sexual advances on women, and a world where men are in charge of everything. Even the actual Mattel company responsible for the girl's doll Barbie is depicted as an all-male run corporation, which is funny considering Mattel in real life has a very balanced female and male board. Ken goes on to return to Barbieland, now inspired by what he has seen in the real world to reinforce the patriarchy onto Barbieland and transform it into a Kendom, a world completely run by men. Barbie is able to then finally retake Kendom by conspiring with all the female Barbies to switch their Kens and enrage their male partners, causing them to fall into chaos. In the end, the Barbies are able to achieve their freedom by completely isolating men, distancing themselves from them, and essentially dominating them in Barbieland. And all that was what many thought to be a children's film. Now, a lot has been said about the staunch feminist narrative of the film, and it has faced a lot of criticism for its anti-men messaging already. And to the film's defense, it has been said that this is nothing more than a satire, a comedy piece, and something not to be taken too seriously. And I get it. It's only a movie, and maybe some parts are not meant to be taken too seriously. But the messaging is awful, especially for impressionable young girls and boys growing up in our society. Even if we were to ignore the film for a moment, narratives where women are constantly pitted against men, or where men are riled up against women, are deeply corrosive to society. You cannot have a healthy, functioning, and harmonious society where men and women are constantly at odds against one another. It is not helpful for the world, for communities, and of course, for families, the backbone on which society runs. The reality is, men and women are not enemies of one another. Men and women, if anything, are protectors of one another. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls believing men and women protectors of one another in the Quran. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam describes men and women as counterparts of one another. This is not to be confused with a world whereby women are degraded and catcalled, as portrayed in the film, but rather a world where women are respected. A world where men are prohibited from looking at a woman lustfully, let alone gawking at her. And even in light of relationships, while we do know that in Islam, men do have a role of qawwama, this is nothing to disrupt or fight over. This is a position of responsibility, a responsibility to maintain, provide for, and protect women. In Islam, relationships are complementary and not competitive. They are caring and not coercive. They are endearing and not dominating. They are relationships that are bound by the Quranic injunction to live with them in kindness. If anything, The role a man plays in a relationship of being a qawwam is something that carries tremendous responsibility and accountability, a trust that all men will be asked about as a father, husband, or brother. Even in the verse that mentions the great responsibility of men, it ends with reminding them that they are beholden to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala above all else. And although we are different, in the sight of Allah, our value is not defined by our gender, but rather our worth as Muslims. So, while Barbie may have achieved a great deal of financial success and cultural buzz over a message which is deeply problematic, it's up to us as Muslims to know who we are, to know our values and our place in this world, with ourselves and with each other. Let us not be swayed by such narratives that undermine our identity as women and understanding of who we are. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.